much better.
We competing today. I see some ass off the hips. Get that mic up and put your shoulder on somebody. Dig, drop. You're finished. Hey, first down. This is weird, kid. Worse than that, sorry.
Hey buddies, what's happening? Here we go again. Welcome to the After Hours Jets Fest. I am your bearded friend, Mr. GreenBean. Oh, I got some schmutz on the shirt. Wait, it's the end of a long day. This is what this is. The After Hours Jets Fest. Schmutz is appropriate for After Hours shows. That's what I heard anyway. But I'm glad that you're here. This is where we continue the conversation from the 2-hour-long Talking Jets panel with Matt O'Leary, Ryan, and myself over on the Talking Jets Network. We kick it over here and we say, hey, how you doing? Right? So we do. How you doing? All right, settle down. How you doing? Everybody good? Everybody good over there? Who do we got in here tonight? Who came first? It is the one and only Dakota. 10:30 tonight. Not sure I'll be knocked out already, but if I'm still awake, I'll be here. What time? He did that shit at 3:01 p.m. It's hard to beat Dakota when he's checking in at 3 in the afternoon. Right? Tony Alexio coming in at 4:21 p.m. Look at these guys. Animals. Animals, I tell you. Aunt Jets is in the house. Funny you mentioned that. I fell asleep last night right before the 10 o'clock mock. Watched it at 4 a.m. when I woke up. And Jets, 5:17 p.m. Look at these guys. They're having a whole thing over afternoon tea. That's what they're doing. Well, I love you guys. My buddy Matt Simon is here at 10 p.m. Gotta love Matt. I've known Matt a long time. Matt and I used to, we were hanging. I met Matt on the internet. He was in Montville. I was in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey. And we met on we met on the Rivals board. And then Rivals, there was a Jet message board, and Rivals shut down. And Matt, a bunch of guys like Jet Insider, I believe Jet Nation came out of that, all popped up. But Matt made one called The Greenhouse. And I went with Matt. Like so many others, that place was popping for years, right, Matt? It was great. And we stayed together, and then Matt and I hooked up a couple times. We went to the green and white scrimmage, the first, the Herm Edwards era when we drafted Santana Moss. Do you guys remember that? So we get all excited. We just came from Al Groh. We had Parcells and Al Groh, and we get this young, exciting guy, Herm Edwards, known for boisterous, and they mic'd him up for the green and white scrimmage, and we drafted Santana Moss. We were all so excited to see him, and you guys remember what happened during the green and white scrimmage? They threw a deep pass to Santana Moss to light up the fans, and he fucking got hurt. Remember that, Matt? He got hurt in the green and white scrimmage. And then Matt and I went to opening day for a few years in a row there. It was great, man. It was great. Like I've just spent a lot of time with my buddy Matt Simon. Good to see you guys. TL's in here. Good to see you. Billy SBC, my buddy, is always hanging out. Love Billy. I'm not taking a quarter. Indy Jets, another one. Indy Jets and I had some wires or some, not wires crossed, but some overlap in our desire to travel the country in an RV, right, Indy? Indy Jet sent me something one time. I was in Texas, and he goes, "Oh, you're in Texas? Here's something to do." And Indy Jet sent me this thing, renting a military tank. Fucking driving around. You guys know you can do that? You can drive around in a military tank. It was just a little bit too expensive. I had no income at the time. So I was just driving around. I drove around for 2 years, 77,000 miles. We did in 2 years on the most amazing truck I ever had. I missed that damn thing, man. But yeah, Indy, I love Indy Jets. G Money's in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Patty Grimes is here. What's up, Patty? Good to see you. Mitt Flair's here. Todd in the house. Look at you guys. You guys are the best. Ant Jets made it back from his 5 o'clock visit. Eddie Hunt's here. Michael Piper Jr., not to be confused with Michael Piper Sr., of course. Who else? Flight Right's in the house. What's good? You're good, Flight Right. That's what's up. Yeah, Eddie, I like that too. Jets are a blue-collar team. We're going to outwork you. That's all we want, right? Aren't you tired of the noise? We're tired of the hold on. I'm going to call my son, make sure he does the chickens. Hold on a second. I just heard him come home. I heard my ring doorbell. Let's call Teen Bean and tell him to do the chickens. Are you ready? He's got to put the chickens in.
I did.
Hey, Teen Bean. You said you did you did the chickens?
Yeah.
Can you do? You're live right now, by the way. Can you bring the water in? Yeah, you got to do it because I walked out in the morning. It's frozen. It's frozen, man. It's going to be warming up soon. We won't have to do it. Bring the water in, please.
Fine.
All right. I love you, buddy. All right. See you. See ya. Got to do the chicken. He did them already, though. What a good kid, huh? He's worked. My son, we took him out of high school. He would be a junior in high school right now, but instead he's going to Piedmont Community College, getting his college credits, and he goes to college and he works at Subway. You know what I mean? He's a good kid. Comes home, does the chickens. Gotta love it. But I like those comments too, Eddie Hunt. I love it. Eddie, King Blaze checking in. Good to see you. Franklin Fung is back with us. Wild Wade, you guys are the best. All right, let me catch up. Big Green says my chickens go. Well, they go in. Here's the thing. They definitely, you're right. They go in their coop. I have a big coop, a walk-in coop. So I have a trap door. I have a drawbridge with a crank. We go. So if I don't do that, what happens? I have foxes and shit out here, Big Green. So I have an electric fan, but they still find their way in. So every night we lock them in because I let them roam. And that night they go in the coop, but then we have to shut the door, or else around now, like overnight, midnight, the foxes come around and they keep killing my chickens. So you know how that goes, Big Green. Got to do the chickens. Yeah, you don't got to go. Imagine, hey, go at 10:30 at night. Go around and chase all the chickens. That'd be brutal. That'd be brutal. Michael Piper says he wants a Michigan defensive tackle. Right. Grant. Oh, you want me? Let me see something here. Let me see who you're talking about here. Yeah, Grant is that's the guy I'm looking at. Kenneth Grant. Is that who you're talking about? Or Mason or Arizona wide receiver? Yeah, that's Tet or Penn State. Right. That's our guy. Oh, you're saying Mason, you want the Michigan defensive tackle, Mason Graham, Tet McMillan, or Tyler Warren. That's what you're saying, right? Hey, we could do a lot worse. I'd be happy with any of those guys. I got to admit, though, like I love Mason Graham, the player, but I do agree with the idea that pairing him with Quinnen, if you're going to do that, you really need to shore up the linebacking core because this running, we need like a space-eating defensive tackle, which is why I don't want to take one in the first, man. I don't want to take a defensive tackle with our first-round pick because there's significantly more of those guys that are going to be quality later than there are like the wide receiver. I really want Tet McMillan. If it's not Tet McMillan, I'd be comfortable with Ibuka. But we got to see what these guys do in the combine too. See how much excitement they can stir up, right? Which is why this week is so exciting. Yeah, Matt, they were great old times. It's been a long time ago, man. We're talking, so that was 2001. So that's 24 years ago, buddy. Shit, back then, remember, Matt? I was a comedian still back then. I used to work at AT&T during the day, and I was a comedian at night. That's what I did. I used to travel around doing comedy. down in Maryland, up in Traverse City, Michigan. I used to go to, I did lots of shows in like Utica, New York, and, I did DC and all that. I used to travel around and do comedy shows, man. Obviously, New York, New Jersey. And then when I moved to LA, I did comedy shows out there and everything. That's where I filmed the adult film, the comedy porn that we did. That was a big one. So what do you guys think? Thank you, Paris. That's amazing. That's amazing. Sometimes I wonder, you know what I mean? Sometimes I wonder, buddy. But my son is a good kid. He's got good work ethic. He's lazy too. You know, he's a teenager. He's going to be 17 this weekend, right? The 25th. What's today? Tuesday, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th. Yeah, so like next week, he's going to be 29th. Listen to me. 29th, 30th February. So what else we got? So Aaron Glenn, the comments made by Aaron Glenn today, like Eddie brought up, he said some things. Like you said, like that number one, I like what Muji and Aaron Glenn are doing with the cutting the press off at the pass. Hey, I know you guys are going to want to get all dramatic and talk about Aaron Rodgers. You're going to want a clip. You're going to want some sort of gotcha headline moment that you could put all over the world. And we're going to create all these stories. And they just go, hey, listen, here's the thing. We made a decision. We thought about it. We made a decision. It's what we feel is best. That's the answer to any questions coming out about Aaron Rodgers. We got nothing else to say on the matter. Now, let me ask you this, guys. I'd love to hear your comments in the chat about this one. When was I in Traverse City? Years ago. Years ago, man. I did a couple shows up there. It was a long-ass drive from New Jersey to Traverse City, Michigan. But the money was right, so you do it. You travel up there and you do some shows, and they loved us in Traverse City, man. I used to go up there and spend like the weekend. I would do 2 shows Thursday, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday. And it was great. I mean, we ran the town it was great, man. I've had some very good times in Traverse City. Right on, I think that's Lake Michigan. I think, no, maybe Lake Erie, right? I forget. It's like the northern side of Michigan, but it might still be Lake Michigan. Anyway, what was I going to say? I wanted to hear your thoughts. Oh, so here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers, we're talking about a post-June 1st cut, right? If there's a team that's interested and Aaron Rodgers is willing to rework his contract, someplace he's willing to go, like let's say the Niners, let's say the Raiders, right? Someplace like that. The Titans have expressed interest in having him as like a bridge mentor kind of a guy. Why not control it? He's under contract. Why not try to get a 6th round pick for him? Get something, right? I know it's unlikely, but why not? Why not try? It's like last year with Bryce Huff, right? It's like you knew he was going to be, look, not to say that this year went the way that it looked like it was going to go for the young fella, but I said Bryce Huff is absolutely going to make $17 to $19 million a year. That's what I said. I got laughed at by the likes of Tigo and Ryan. In no fucking way is he getting $17 million. He's a situational pass rusher. He was among the first free agents signed that last year's free agent period, right? So there was a GM years ago. I feel like it was Polian, but I don't know. I forget. But he said, if you're going to cut a guy, and this goes even down the bottom end of the roster, if you cut someone and there are more than 2 waiver claims for that person, then you should have traded him. If there are more than 2, it doesn't matter if you get a 7th in 2 years, you take something for those guys. Now, Joe Douglas' regime was very much about taking care of the guys. They were loyal. They became friendly with them, right? Which is fine to an extent. You want them to have that camaraderie, kind of that loyalty to a degree, but it's a business and it's about winning football games and building the football team that can be a strong team as long as you possibly can muster that to make that happen. So we saw lots of guys, like we would cut guys and go, we wanted to give them a chance to sign on with another team. Dude, why are we doing if you can get a 7th round pick for somebody and send them to a team that they don't want to go to, that's too damn bad. It's too bad. This is the way it goes. It's like you look at Bill Belichick. Remember when Demaryius Thomas, God rest his soul, he signed a free agent contract with the Patriots. He was an undrafted free agent. He was an unrestricted free agent. He signed a free agent contract with the Patriots. Before the season even started, Bill Belichick traded Demaryius Thomas to the Jets. Demaryius Thomas said, why the hell did you sign me? I don't want to go to the Jets. That's pretty much what he said. He was pissed. But guess what? Bill Belichick doesn't give two shits. Now, I'm not saying you should do that. I think that was a little bit of a douchey move. Sign him as an undrafted or an unrestricted free agent and fucking send him to the abyss. That's not what you want to do necessarily. But if you got a guy on your roster and there's, if you let him go, you have a pretty damn good idea that teams are going to sign him. Like was said, if there's more than 2 waiver claims, you could have gotten value for that guy. Now, maybe not every time, but you have to try. You go, well, why would I give you a 7th round pick when I could just wait? Because you never know if he's going to sign with you. You're 15th on the waiver wire. I got the idea that the team sitting at 4 is going to take him. So give me a 7th round pick like this year. You say, give me a 7th round pick in 2027. And he's yours. Right? Doesn't that make more fucking sense? Again, you can't do that it's not going to work every time, but you got to try. And a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to go. He's going to control his own destiny to a degree. But you say, hey, look, the Titans got or the Raiders want you. Tom Brady's over there. You cool with going over there? Because they're going to throw me a 6th and I want to take it. Is that cool with you? You know what I mean? You at least have that conversation because he can refuse and whatever else. Woo! Excuse me. But you know what I mean? Lake Superior, that is. Thank you, Havmo. So does anybody think we can get something? It's like Davante Adams. I know his contract is prohibitive. Davante Adams has a little bit more say in the matter because he's got a $30 million a year or so contract for 2 years. It's not guaranteed, so we don't have to do anything. We're not going to lose any money, right? But so he could say, dude, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm not, I'm not going to, I'm not going. I don't want to go there. Does he have a no trade clause? I don't know. But he could kind of cause some stink and say, I'm not going to accept the trade maybe. But he said, no, then just keep me. I'm just going to stay here. You either cut me or you're going to pay me $30 million. There's a little bit of that. But like, dude, Davante Adams definitely has value. Definitely has value. He's going to have to rework his contract to sign with anybody. He's not getting $30 million this year. I think it's something like that. So why not try to get something? We gave a 3rd for Davante Adams last year in the middle of the year in October. You tell me you can't get a 4th, 5th for Davante Adams? He fucking played great. He had another 1,000-yard season. He took over games toward the end of the year. He's still Davante Adams. Why can't you get something for him if you're not going to keep him? I think the Jets should definitely sit down with him and say, look, we want you here. Here's our quarterback plan. We want to keep you and Garrett Wilson together. We're going to run a cutting-edge offense, and you're going to be, you and Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are going to be the focal points of the offense. This is what we're going to do. We want to rework your contract 2 years. We'll guarantee you, whatever, 15 million of that. 2 years, 20 million, whatever. I don't know, And yeah, but you try. And if not, you say, okay, well, the fucking Titans want you. The Cardinals want you, and I'm trading you there. You're under contract. Again, I don't know if he's got a no trade clause in his new I don't know. Paris says, I don't think there's a market for Aaron Rodgers. If he plays next year, it'll be because a quarterback got hurt in preseason. Yeah, no, I think there is a market, though. Again, look, it wasn't a perfect year, but he did have 3,900 yards, 28 touchdowns. I think there's a market for that. He's 41, so he's going to be 41. So that is what it is, but it's like, I don't know. I think there's a market. You got to try. You got to try as opposed to saying, nope, we're just cutting ties. It's like, dude, try. Like, it's relentless. Never, ever stop trying. That's the way I see it. With that said, guys, I want to remind you of the amazing offer. This is the end. This is my last week offering you guys the amazing offer that I've been talking to you guys about for some time now, right? You guys know, if you haven't heard me say it, I'm going to say it right now. The best offer I think that I've offered. Look at this. Where's my head? Wait. There we go. The best offer that I've had for you guys, straight up, 150% bonus on your first deposit, up to $2,000 with the one and only BetUS, guys. America's favorite sports book. It's an amazing offer. 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. All you have to do is use that promo code YouTube150 and the offer is yours. If you use it again after that, you'll get a 125% bonus on your next two deposits up to $2,000. And just because the NFL season is behind us does not mean that there's not plenty of work to do and fun to be had on America's favorite sports book, BetUS. Take advantage of this offer before it's gone. And I thank BetUS for hanging out with us yet again. Ray Danger checking in. No team giving up a draft pick for the player. That's not true. That's not, I know, I hear that argument all the time. That's not true. Now, it's true to an extent, and it is true at times. But if there's more than one team that wants that player, there's no guarantee that when the player gets cut, he's going to sign with you. If you want the player, a trade it happens all the time. There's, look, the most recently, Tyreek Hill. They were going to get rid of him. They didn't want him. They knew they were getting rid of him. It's not exactly the same, but you see, there's more than one team. There was 3 or 4 teams that wanted to trade for him. Now, maybe they weren't going to cut him, so it's a little bit different. But just because a player's getting cut doesn't mean that you can't get value, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get that player as the other team. If there's more than one team that wants him, especially if you're the less attractive team of the two or more. Like, let's say it's the Jets and the Ravens, that want him. If he gets cut, he's more than likely going to sign with the Ravens than over this shithole, right? So you say, no. Don't cut him. I'll give you something for him. That's a long shot, but I'd like to see him try. I hear you though, Ray, but I don't agree. Now, Devontae Adams, I think, has more value right now. You think, though? So Paris says, thank you, Ray. Getting rid of Devontae Adams might make Garrett Wilson happier. I think Wilson wants to be the man. And I think he does, too. But I also don't see Garrett. I think if Garrett Wilson is winning, right, if we're winning games, and he's splitting the duty. He's going to get his targets. He's open all day. He's open all the time. And he makes incredible catches. Doesn't it suck that one of the best catches we've ever seen in NFL history was made this year by Garrett Wilson, and it just gets swallowed into a shit season where everybody got fired? Doesn't it suck? Oh, I'm going to get in the hiccups over here. Doesn't it suck? It just gets swallowed, disappears into the black abyss of suctitude. 5 wins. Aaron Rodgers getting cut. Joe Douglas fired mid-season. Robert Saleh fired mid-season. New coaching staff, new GM. Just gets swallowed. I don't know Garrett Wilson personally, right? But he's going to get his targets and he's going to get his catches because he's a fucking badass. I think if the team was an 11 to 13 win team and he's getting his share, I don't think he gives 2 shits. I really don't. He wants to win. He wants to be a part of it. He doesn't want to be forgotten. But especially, see, the thing is, we only have the experience, Paris, with guys complaining that they're not a part of it and we're losing. So, like, if we're losing games, for example, and you got a great player who's he feels I'm not being used enough. I'm wide open all day. You're not throwing me the ball. Or you're fucking throwing it over my head or whatever, throwing it into my feet. I got to make acrobatic catches. I'm getting killed. You're throwing me suicide balls all day, whatever it might be. You know, we see that because he's like, dude, well, whatever you're doing is not working. Just throw me the ball. I'm open. You know, that kind of a thing. But if we're winning and it's and if it's not Garrett, it's Devontae. If it's not Devontae, it's Garrett. I think everybody's happy. We just don't know. I can't speak from any experience because I don't fucking know what winning's like. Apart from a couple of games smattered in. Oh, terrible. Wild wave. That's what I'm thinking. Now, look, the Raiders, what pick do they have again? Let's see here. Let me see here. The Raiders are sitting at pick 6 right before the Jets. Right? So the Raiders are at pick 6. They're unlikely. It can happen. You see all these mocks and scenarios coming out that says that Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders could slip to whatever. Maybe. So it's possible. But it's unlikely that they're going to get one of those 2 guys. I think Shedeur Sanders is made for the Raiders. I think that'd be a really good match. Makes sense to me in my brain. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to make it there. And they would have to think that it's unlikely as well without a trade up. They'd have to get ahead of the Giants, no doubt. Cleveland is an interesting one because they have Deshaun Watson. He's clearly not working. And they're at pick 2, so they could just stay right there and take a quarterback. But you might have to trade with Cleveland. So the Raiders would have to go from 6 to 2. You could go to 3 if Shedeur Sanders makes it past the Browns and is sitting there at 3, you can trade with the Giants if they're willing. But I think you got to get ahead of it. I think the Giants are definitely in the quarterback market. If there's a quarterback there, they're taking one. That's my thought. So if it's unlikely to happen without, giving up the farm, so to speak, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady is a part owner of the Ravens. Pete Carroll, like Wild Wave is saying right now, is the head coach. These are like old vets. Tom Brady was the last over 40-year-old quarterback to leave, and continue and win a Super Bowl, have success. He knows what the landscape needs to look like for Aaron Rodgers to succeed. I think that's exactly the team that would want to take Aaron Rodgers. You call the Raiders and you go, dude, why don't we call this a wrap? Aaron Rodgers would love to come there. Give me a 6th. Give me a 5th, 7th, whatever. I'll send him on over. You know what I mean? Anyway, I think Pete Carroll would want Aaron Rodgers too. So when we cut him, which is more likely, when we cut him, I could see the Raiders being the team. They just got to see. Now, if they're able to sign Aaron Rodgers, now they're at pick 6. You know who they're taking, in my opinion. They're taking Tet. And they're taking my guy. And it sucks. We got Devontae Adams for a 3rd from them last year. He's already gone, and they take Tet McMillan from us. See how it goes? And Aaron Rodgers. So they get Aaron Rodgers, they got Tet McMillan, and you got that extra 3rd. You get him another wide receiver there. You know what I mean? I think it makes a ton of sense. And they're in the position to build around, to get enough there to make it fun for them while they kind of, bridge to the next piece. I don't know how long Pete Carroll was the 3rd oldest coach in NFL history 3 or 4 years ago. Crazy. He's old, but he's definitely not. He's a young 76 or whatever he is, right? You know that. Pete Carroll's a special guy. So Havmo says Rossini says the Browns are the most likely to deal. Why wouldn't they? Right? That's the thing. Like if they're not thinking of taking Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, whoever's there. Look, they're already in rebuild mode. You see Myles Garrett's on the trading block. They're looking to acquire as much capital as they can. Let's take a look right now and see what the Browns are looking at pick-wise this year. Wow. The Browns have fucking 13 picks. Look at this, guys. Wow. So they're going to be able to deal, guys. Look at this. Wait. Come on. Come on, everybody. Why won't it expand on me? I know it's hard to see. There we go. So the Browns have the 2nd overall, the 1st pick in the 2nd, the 3rd pick in the 3rd, the 2nd pick in the 4th. They got one, but look, they have, so wait, I'm sorry. Let's do this again. So they got the 2nd overall, 1st pick of the 2nd round. So they got the 1st pick on 2nd pick on day 1, the 1st pick on day 2. The Browns fans are going to be excited this year. They got the 3rd pick in round 3, but then they have another round 3 down here, 94. So then for what's exciting, they have 2 picks in 9 picks. So between the 3rd and 4th round. So they have the 2nd pick on day 3 as well. They have 1 4th. They have 1 5th down here. Then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 6th round picks. 5 6th round picks. And then 2 7th round picks. Right? So they're going to be a team. This is going to be very attractive because they're going to be a team that is absolutely willing to take next year capital. You know what I'm saying? Because they got too many picks now. Now they'll probably use a lot of that shit to take their 3rd here. They'll throw a 2-6 in to move from 94 to 73 or something like that. You know what I mean? They'll make some of those moves to increase the quality over the quantity that they have. But remember, we talk about the Idzik 12. The problem with the Idzik 12, everybody, was that he didn't use any of it to trade up. He's stuck and picked. He was a stick and pick for 12 picks and didn't know what the hell he was doing. Did you guys ever see the average RAS scores of the Idzik 12? It was ridiculous. Average RAS score of Idzik 12. Let's see if it's up here. Let's see if it's up here. There was an image I saw. I probably won't find it because I might have been on Twitter. I forget. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to show you guys this. Can you guys see this? Look at this. So just look at the Idzik 12. This fucking guy. So again, I'm not you know how I am. I'm not like obviously RAS score, the athletic score is important, right? I'm not saying that. But I am not beholden to that. Like I don't just like when I'm like getting into the later rounds of the draft, I don't go like Joe Douglas, you see, would go for a high RAS score, whether it's Jonathan Marshall or that tight end that we have, Kuntz or whatever. He just shoots on the athletic skills. Great. I get it. But I'm more of a, like, when we get into that, I'm willing to forego the RAS score and get me a guy that just is blue collar, just works his ass off. Like, let me see something real quick. Let me see if I want to see Wayne Krabet's RAS score. Where's all the RAS scores? Wayne Krabet. Is this it? Let me see. No, it's not it. Anyway, but like, so the point I was going to make was like a guy like Wayne Krabet, he's not blowing people's doors off with his, athletic skills. He's not the fastest. He's not the biggest. He's not the strongest. But he's a fucking badass. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I go. But you can't ignore it entirely. So look at this. Our first round pick had an athletic score of 5.13. Remember, this is out of 10, guys. And you got Jay Samaro made some sense. He was actually a good pick. He just fell off a cliff. Crazy. 8.8. You got Dexter McDougal. Remember, he was injured when we drafted him. He was a perpetually injured guy. Like his coaches would all say, oh, if he wasn't injured all the time, we took a swing. 7.74. Jalen Saunders, first wide receiver. Remember, this was the strongest wide receiver class in history up to that point. We wait till the fourth round. 3.9. Then you got a 6.5. Dakota Dozier. He actually had a little bit of a career. 1.52. Jeremiah George. He was gone before the damn season started. 1.34. Or was he the guy that got drunk and pulled over in the Lincoln Tunnel? That guy? I don't know if that was him or not. Brandon Dixon, 6.75. Then you got Quincy Anunwa, 9.95. He was the best of the whole class. I.K. Nkampali, better known for the guy who broke Geno Smith's jaw in the locker room, 2.94. Taj Boyd, which was just a pick. Remember this? He was Rex Ryan's son's friend, so he gave him a pick. We knew he was never going to be an NFL player. We picked him. We used it's like these. Oh, he's in the 6th, 7th round. We had no value. 6th round. It's just the 6th round. What do you mean? I'm of the school of thought I'm getting starters in the 6th round, maybe developmental, but in 2-3 years, my 6th round picks, they're going to be on my team. We just, whatever, 4.79. And then Trevor Riley. His problem was he was 27 years old or some shit when we drafted him. Remember that? But look at this. So he stayed and picked at all 12 picks. Cleveland's not going to do that. So if they're the team to trade, it makes a bunch of sense. Obviously, they would love to get like another second in this, this draft, whatever, but they're going to be totally fine with saying, hey, give me a second this year, but give me your first and second next year. You don't have, or maybe not even, maybe give me a third this year, whatever. They're going to be fine with saying, hey, give me draft capital for next year, which is actually lower value this year, so you can get more of it. And teams are going to like that because they're going to want their impact to be now. And Cleveland's in a very interesting position with 13 friggin' picks that they can absolutely do that. And they have a lot of capital here So look at this. They have what was that? 5 6th-round picks, dude. They should be taking those 6 and using them. They can get back into the first here easy, right? Easy. They can take 67 and get back into the second easy. Throw a 6th. Let's see. I mean, this value, but let's see. You got this 6th-round pick right here, 19. So 20 points. That'll get you to pick 31. Oh, wait, where was I? Not 31. That'll get you to pick, what is that? Hold on. So that's 10. 15. That'll get you to pick 63. No problem. No problem. Just that 6th. So then because like right here, that 2nd, 3rd round, that's where all those players guys that are slipping through, you're still getting incredible value. Like at the beginning of the 2nd, end of the 2nd, beginning of the 3rd, that's the sweet spot, man. I had high hopes for Pryor too, and I did like the type of player he was, but dude, he wasn't even the best. Clinton Dix. If you were going to take a safety, he was the guy. Remember when Rex Ryan was asked about this, and this is when you knew it wasn't Idzik making the picks. They said, "Why did you take Calvin Pryor over Clinton Dix?" And he said, "I took the player that'll knock your head off. I took the player. That's why." So I don't forget. Like think about it. We give Idzik a lot of shit. But what he was good at was cleaning up that cap. He cleaned up the cap, the Mike Tannenbaum mess at the end. Remember, Tannenbaum did a lot of fun shit, but it was time to pay the piper. Idzik dealt with that and cleaned that all up for Mike Maccagnan to have a clean slate. But you cannot tell me that Rex Ryan, who was already here for 4 years, Woody was enamored with Rex Ryan, so much so that he fired Mike Tannenbaum and kept Rex Ryan. So you're going to tell me that some nerdy accountant guy who wasn't even on anybody's GM lists, John Idzik from Seattle Seahawks, is going to come in here and have more say than Rex Ryan? No way. That was Rex Ryan's 5th year with Woody Johnson. John Idzik just got here. They said, "Hey, nerd, clean up the books. We're picking the players." So what did he do? Rex Ryan, he took a safety, a strong safety at that, with the 1st round pick. It was like what? I forget what pick it was, like 20, whatever the hell it was. Teams. I'm taking a strong safety. I'm taking a tight end, right? What else was it? What did he do? And then he took a cornerback. I mean, that's got Rex Ryan written all over it. Then the next year, or the year before that, right, was at 14 and 15. Yeah, 2013. What did he do? We traded Revis. We got a 1st and a 4th. It was a 3rd that could be a 4th. It ended up being a 4th. We traded Revis. What did Rex do? We had 2 firsts. He took D. Milliner, cornerback, defensive tackle, Sheldon Richardson. Does that not have Rex written all over it, everybody? You think John Idzik came in here and said, "No, we don't need wide receivers. We don't need offense." And when he does take offense, what is it? A big tight end. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Let's see what you guys are saying. So anyway, I think Cleveland is an interesting one. So anyway, that's just going back to Aaron Rodgers. So let's see what you guys are saying. Oh my God, Chandler Jones, but also who was the other guy that oh my God, who was the guy that I wanted that year? Hold on. Let's look at the Quentin Copels. Hold on. Let me see here. Incredible. Now, I didn't hate Quentin Coples was so good, dude. The problem was the knock on Quentin Coples was he takes far too many plays off. He only plays when he wants to. Now, Rex Ryan thought, I'm the master motivator. I'm going to be the one to motivate this guy. Right? Made sense. Quentin Coples was an incredible talent. When he turned it on, he was almost unstoppable. Big, long, strong, athletic. Let's see here. So he was in the 2012 NFL draft. All right, let's see here. I just can't remember the guy that I wanted. It starts with an M. He played a long time in the league too. Stud City. Let's see here. So here we go. Here we go. Starts with an M. For first name starts with an M. So here we got. This was Andrew Luck. The Redskins traded up for RG3. Trent Richardson. Matt Khalil. Remember him? So anyway, Morris Claiborne. We had him for a while. Ryan Tannehill. So where's Quentin Coples? Here we go. So we took, there he is, Melvin Ingram. That's the guy I wanted that year. Melvin Ingram did all right. So I wanted Melvin Ingram, but yeah, Chandler Jones right here. Quentin Coples was a, now thing is, what's really funny about this is Bruce Irvin was considered at the time like a late first, right? A late first. Seattle Seahawks, I mean, maybe even second round pick at the time. And the Seattle Seahawks blew everybody's doors off and took him at pick 15, which for Jets fans like myself were like, holy shit. Like we totally thought they were going to take Melvin Ingram. It's funny. I watched that draft. I was at a place called Ricky's, famous for wings on Hollywood Boulevard. I watched that draft alone in a Miami Dolphins bar. I was just sitting there alone at the bar. I didn't drink. So I was just fucking eating wings, watching the draft by myself. And when they took Bruce Irvin, I was like, yeah, we're going to get Melvin Ingram, baby. And I like Chandler Jones too. And then the pick comes in and they take Quentin Coples. And I was like, okay. But you know what I mean? Look at this, dude. Right here. 2 studs at essentially the same position. Would you have been happier, Stud City, with Melvin Ingram or Chandler Jones over Quentin Coples? I think you might have been. Sodak, my buddy, checking in. Remember when we drafted Polite at So Ja'Kai Polite, that was McCagnon. That was a Mike McCagnon special. A Mike McCagnon special, Ja'Kai Polite. He was every bit of a first-round prospect, right? Coming out of the end of the season, he was on everybody's board, first-round pedigree. And he showed up at the combine, and he was overweight. He was slow and sloppy. His interviews were terrible. The word was that most teams took him off their board entirely. Like if he's sitting there late in the draft, maybe you take a swing. Mike McCagnon, who's a fool, doesn't know anything. Like truly, he's a fool. Saw Ja'Kai Polite, probably had that first round grade on him, saw him sitting there in the third and thought to himself, oh my God, we're getting a first round defensive end. Outside linebacker, I think, type, right? In the fucking third round. Couldn't pass it. And again, Mike McCagnon with his amazing picks. The year prior, remember, he drafted Sam Darnold, and the next pick was Sheldon, a defensive. He took 2 defensive tackles in that draft. I mean, we did this the other night. It's just the craziest thing. Like when we watch, so we have endured as Jets fans, especially it sucks because we know our shit, but for the most part, we're a little bit more intense than most fan bases, right? As a collective. I think that's why we have the most content creators, right? We have the most active Twitter, like Jets Twitter or Jets X now, is the most active. Anybody needs extra clicks, they just say some shit about the Jets, right? So we actually know our stuff, and we've been doing this for a long time. So 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25, a lot of us were on message boards talking to each other. Oh my God, what about the draft? We're having draft parties and shit like that. We were way ahead of the curve. And we've had to endure guys like Mike McCagnon who trade up to grab a quarterback and then do not use the best thing you give him is a 4th round tight end in that whole draft. And then they gave him, I think it was a 6th round running back. So you give him, we have no wide receivers to speak of. Our offensive line is dog shit. And you give him 2 defensive tackles, cornerbacks. It's crazy. We've had to endure that. I love to say it all the time. Mike McCagnon had 5 full drafts with the New York Jets and free agent periods, by the way. But he had 5 drafts. He drafted 2 offensive linemen in 5 drafts. The highest pick he used on an offensive lineman was a 3rd. Think about that. The offensive line has 5 positions. Left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. You need 5 of them. He used 5 drafts and only used 2 picks on offensive linemen. And we have to sit out here knowing our shit and watch him take Ja'Kai Polite in the 3rd when we're like, dude, now look, we have hope. We try and we spin it and we have hope. And we try to find the silver lining like we do every year. Right? We have to endure this. And then, right, before Mike McCagnon, you had the Idzik guy. Now, Tannenbaum was a big batch of fun. But Tannenbaum, what he did was he just didn't, there was no price too high for Tannenbaum. Now, McCagnon had to do that because nobody wanted to come here. Tannenbaum was a little bit different. Tannenbaum made the Jets the most attractive place. Like you saw, we got a great example of that is the LaDainian Tomlinson. It was between us and the Vikings. And the Vikings were a good squad too. And Tannenbaum, that was the great thing about having Mike Tannenbaum as our GM. We called him Trader Mike at the time. We knew if Tannenbaum really wants you, we felt confident our guy's going to go get him. We felt confident with that. If there was a trade to be had, Mike Tannenbaum will do it. Remember, he brought in Braylon Edwards, Antonio Holmes. He traded, fucking with with Eric Mangini. He just fired Eric Mangini and then goes and trades with him in the 1st for chump change. Chump change. You guys remember the Mark Sanchez trade? Hold on. My puppies? What are you doing? Hi, guys. What are you guys doing? You guys are outside? Hello, puppies. Why are my dogs out so late? So my son put the chickens in, but didn't put the puppies in. Come here, puppies. Come here, Shias. You guys want to see the dogs? There we go. Come here, puppies. You see him? Here's my buddy. This is Dalinar. And this one is Shia. Come here. Come here. Say hi. See the puppies? Here's my puppies. Look at these guys. What are you guys doing? You were so cold out there? Yes. My pups. Can't believe it. What was I saying? I was saying something good. Oh, so Trader Mike, yeah. He brought in the Mark Sanchez trade. That's what I wanted to do. Let's take a look. So here's all right, here we go. So the Jets moved 12 spots. We moved up 12 spots in the first. We were at pick 17 and we moved up to 5. That's huge jump. Huge jump. Like, think about this. If the Jets at 7 are moving back to 17, what do you think we're getting? Sodak, Paris, Wild Wave. What do you guys think we're getting? If the Jets slide back from 7 to 17, 10 picks, what do you think we're going to get? So let's see. You want to know what the Jets gave up? I'm going to drop it in the chat. Oh, is it too much? So here it is. So the Jets gave up. Listen to this. We moved up 12 spots in the first round. And we gave up a second-round pick, a depth defensive end in Kenyon Coleman, safety Abram Elam, who was okay. He was an okay player. Nothing to write home about. And quarterback Brett Ratliff, who was the third stringer. He had a couple real nice preseasons for us. He was our yearly preseason love affair. You know how we do that? That's what we gave up. That was fucking Mike Tannenbaum, dude. With the coach that he just fired. Think about that. Think about that. Is that not the craziest thing you ever heard? And then we traded with them later that same year and got Braylon Edwards. Let's see what we gave up for Bray Bray. It was like a third and Chancey Stuckey, I think. All right, you ready? Now, Chancey Stuckey was a nice wide receiver. He was fun, right? Little guy. But he was nothing to write home about. He was nice. Wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3, you could say. Hello, Shine. Hello, my good girl. What are you doing? Hello. She's a good girl. So here's what we did. So we gave them Chancey Stuckey, again, nice wide receiver. Jason Trusnick. Come on, what? That doesn't give me the deal. Hold on. Let me see. There was a third-round pick, I think it was. It might have been a third and a fifth. Now, at the time, Braylon Edwards was one of the elite wide receivers in the NFL. He had that rub that he dropped too many passes, but he was a stud. Let me see. So we gave, again, Chancey Stuckey, linebacker Jason Trusnick, who was really nothing. A third rounder, and which could move up to a second. It didn't. And a fifth rounder. So we gave him a third and a fifth and two players that were, depth guys. So that's Trader Mike. So we at least had that fun. But I'll tell you, man. But before Tannenbaum, too, we had Kotite was because Bill Parcells was our GM. Well, Terry Bradway. Don't fucking forget about Terry Bradway. Terry Bradway was hot garbage. Remember that? We had 2 first-round picks, and that was a deep defensive tackle draft. None of them really made. Let me see something here. We're looking. We're digging in tonight. Dwayne Robertson, right? Who, by the way, was raw, right? His value was speculative. He was a good player, but he was speculative. So the Jets traded. We had 2 first-round picks that year. Let me see. We traded all the way up. It was like the 3rd overall pick or some shit like that. Let me see. The 4th overall pick in round 1 in the 2003 NFL draft. So let me see here. There was a lot of defensive tackles in that draft. This is Terry Bradway for you. Let's take a look. This is fun. History. I hope you guys are having fun. I'm having a blast. I'm having a good time. So here we go. So we traded up. Let's see what we did again. So the Jets, wait, where's the trade? Here it is. So we gave them pick 13. Wait, hold on. Obtained from Washington as compensation for the Jets. All right, so we got that pick when Washington signed Lavernius Coles. We got a first. That's crazy, right? Think about that. So we had picks 13 and 22. We moved up to pick 4. We took a defensive tackle. So Jonathan Sullivan was another defensive tackle, but Kevin Williams, okay, Terrell Suggs, these guys are all sitting here. Jimmy Kennedy, Ty Warren was a defensive lineman I liked in this draft. But look, Troy Polamalu's here, right? Well, let's try Calvin Pace. We had him for a while. But I just want to look at the defensive tackles. So William Joseph, not again, not everybody made something out of it, but there were higher rated guys. I'm just looking at defensive tackles. I mean, there's fucking plenty of guys. Anyway, so look, there was a lot. There was so in this draft, you think about first round, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive tackles taken in the first round. That's a strong defensive tackle class. And we used 2 firsts to go up and get one of them. With the pick 4 to take a defensive tackle? Are you kidding me? Especially when Terrell Suggs and Troy Polamalu were sitting right there. Now, we were at pick 13. So Terrell Suggs was there. But if you're going to trade up, Terrell Suggs might have been the guy that you went up to go get, right? Or Kevin Williams if you're going to take a defensive tackle. Well, you could have stayed at 13, got Troy Polamalu, Willis McGahee, Asamoah. Look at this. It's just crazy, isn't it? So again, my whole point being what we've endured, which is why a lot of us older fans, when you look at a guy like Joe Douglas, especially right on the heels of McCagnon, you look at Joe Douglas, who really, guys, we don't have that concern. During the Joe Douglas era, we didn't really have the concern that our first round pick was going to be a bust. We had concerns about Will McDonald because, number one, it was a reach and it was a position that we didn't need, right? We had our edges. We just used the first the year before on an edge. But look at it, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, AVT. Who else? You got Will McDonald, who he's looking like he's going to be a pretty good player. But even Becton, obviously, Zach Wilson is what it is. Worthy swing. But Becton, it was the injury shit, all that. But dude, and then the second round pick. So you forget sometimes just how bad it really was. And I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't have gotten rid of Joe Douglas and all. It is what it is. He had 6 years. We couldn't get past 7 wins. It just is what it is, right? You got to go. You got to make the change. But sometimes you can forget just how bad it really can get. When you got a general manager, so that was the 2003 draft. Watch what he does in 2004. I think it's 2004. Let me see here. No, in 2004, we took Jonathan Vilma. That was a good pick. Was it 2005? What year? Wait, 2005 NFL draft. Let me see. Yeah. So 2005, the Jets traded their first round pick. Now remember, 2003, we used 2 first round picks to move up to get a fucking defensive tackle in a draft class that saw 5 defensive tackles taken in the first, most with better careers than Dwayne Robertson. And then you get to 2005, he trades his first round pick for a tight end. Okay. Now, the 2005 draft class, by the way, that was the one Braylon Edwards came out of. But you had all kinds of fun guys. DeMarcus Ware, Sean Merriman, Jamal Brown. Oh, my God. It's just crazy. Aaron Rodgers, by the way. Roddy White, Heath Miller, Logan Mankins. You had all these studs. You trade with the Raiders for their tight end. And then to add insult to injury, when we get to our first pick in the second round, we take a fucking kicker. A kicker. Okay? I have arguments with Dom every Monday night about taking a kicker in the 6th. You don't want to do it. We traded our first for a tight end who was a middling tight end at that. It's not like we traded our tight end, our first round pick, for fucking Tony Gonzalez. That's not who it was. Let me see who it was. I can never remember his damn name. Hold on. I'll tell you. I think it was the Raiders. Hold on. I forget how it went. I can't remember the final details. I can't remember. Yeah, Oakland. Yeah, the New York Jets traded their first round pick 26th and 7th round selections. We did get their second, so there's a little bit better. So we traded our first for Doug Jolly, that's his name, and a couple 6ths. So we traded our first for a second and Doug Jolly. A little bit better getting the second, in fairness. But then you use your second on a kicker, guys. Havmo says, JD got all cutesy last year and it didn't suck, but should we do that this year? I'm hesitant. What do you mean he got cutesy last year? What did he do last year? Who did we take last year? Who's our first round pick? Oh, yeah, Fashanu. Well, I like what he did last year. Like, again, look, I would not have been unhappy with Brock Bowers. I know there was attempts to trade up for Rome Odunze. I would have been happy with that. Like, again, I was on team left tackle, as you guys know. I'm like, dude, we got Tyron Smith. That's great, but he hasn't finished a season in 10 fucking years. And we didn't get Tyron Smith, so it was even worse than I thought it would be. But I knew we were going to need the left tackle. This was a superior left tackle class. I'm like, this is the year to get a left tackle. Now, if they would have just gotten Brock Bowers, I would have been happy with it, but I wasn't on Bowers' boy team. I was on team left tackle, but I would have been happy if Bowers, or if we got Romo Dunze for that matter. But the trade back with the Vikings just to scoop up an additional pick, you were gonna, they wanted JJ McCarthy, slide back a spot, get a pick, and take the guy you were going to take anyway. That to me that's what you do. That's the way to do it. There's no concern of them taking your guy, or almost. There's never no concern, right? But there's almost no concern. I'm going to get the guy I want anyway. So I might as well take the extra pick. So that's beautiful. But I'm really curious. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm excited. I want to see what these guys do. I really like the first year with Aaron Glenn and Derek Mouge, or I'm sorry, what is it? Aaron Mouge? What is his name? Let's call him Mouge. So AG and Mouge, with Spielman as an advisor. That's our collective. I really hope that they don't start their era with a big trade up that leave for a quarterback that is iffy and that would remove the second round. I'm sorry, the first, probably a second round. So you would have to lose your second round pick this year, which is a sweet one. We're up high. And your first round pick next year, and probably some change, right? Maybe next year's second. I don't want to start this regime that way. I just don't. Now, if you're telling me we could use 7, to get Kyler Murray, somebody, I'm not the biggest Kyler Murray fan, but I don't think there's any question he's a good quarterback. He's exciting, like something like, okay, you're just using the one pick, but I don't want to see them start in a hole resource wise for a guy that's going to need to develop. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't like it. I understand what people are saying. And if we did it, I'm going to root for it, of course. But I'm really hoping that that's not what they do. Right, Sodak? And this is the way you got to look at it. So like people say, if we draft Tyler Warren this year, it's like the most ridiculous thing. And you had the best tight end ever last year, and then you take a tight end this year anyway. Number one, it's a different regime, right? So you can't really, it would, from the fan perspective, if you're a big Brock Bowers guy, then yes, it sucks. And it's kind of salt on a wound, right? Now we take a tight end. But you can't look at it that way. The way you got to look at it is this. If you're looking at it, tight end and left tackle. Last year, like the top tackle in this class is probably offensive lineman 6 or 7. There were 8 offensive tackles taken in the first round last year, and for good reason. It was a very strong tackle class. 8. And then there were other offensive linemen taken. So there was I think there was 9 total offensive linemen taken in the first round. Out of 32 picks, 9 of them were offensive linemen. That's the year that you want to use the strength of the draft, of the class, to bolster your team. So you look at it, you're like, if you were going to get it, you get Bowers last year, and you need a left tackle this year. You need one. What are you getting? So is Fashanu and Tyler Warren better than Brock Bowers and let's just say Campbell or, whoever? I mean, let's see. I mean, I don't know. Who do I like? I mean, Banks, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to get a guy for a vital, look, as exciting as Brock Bowers is, left tackle is more important. And if you don't have, if we used our first round pick on one of these guys and they suck for a year or two and they never really, you're really hamstringing the team. Where if you don't have a great tight end, like Fashanu and Tyler Warren are better than Brock Bowers and, let's say, Will Campbell, in my opinion. And that's the right way to look at it. AJ wondering how Olu's doing. That's probably because it's a non-story, AJ. Like, it was an injury. It was late in the season. Like, maybe if it was middle of the season, maybe he kind of, you know what I mean? It's a regular old injury. So he just missed the end of the season. And I think he's going to be fine. Young, it wasn't like a reconstructive knee surgery. What was his injury? Let's see. I just forget. Olu Fashanu injury. Not play. He's going to change off line. Plantar fascia. Plantar fasciitis, dude. I told you I had plantar fasciitis. You know what I did? I've got a fucking 1999 boot on Amazon, and I dealt with it, dude. My wake up in the morning, my foot was like this. It was like it tightened. It was brutally painful, debilitatingly painful, like limp, like every morning I woke up like that for months and months. And I went to the doctor, they did this, and I took pain pills, and I did stretches and all. Every morning it came back. And then I got this boot. You sleep with this boot. Dude, it was gone in 2 days. I shit you not. It was gone. Never came back. Now, I'm not an athlete, and, I'm sure it's more serious, but that's all it was. We're not talking about a reconstructive knee surgery, ACL, MCL. We're not talking about that stuff. It's just that. So, Dante checking in. Would you lose faith in them if they trade up? I would. I wouldn't say I'd lose faith, but it's not the move I would make. Like, if the Jets are bold enough to trade up to get Cam Ward, they say, this is the guy. Engstrand loves him. Aaron Glenn loves him. They're going to pair him with Garrett Wilson, and they feel confident in that. I'll applaud the move. I don't think they should, and it would scare the living bejesus out of me. But I wouldn't lose faith in them. Now, in 2 years, if Cam Ward is essentially Justin Fields on year 2, I'm going to start having problems. But hey, man, like, look, you look at a team like we talked about it in the last stream. The 49ers traded. They used 3 first-round picks and a third to move up from pick 12, I think it was, to pick 3. They took Trey Lance, and he sucked. Never did anything. 2 years later, they traded him for chump change to the Miami Dolphins, was it? Who was it? Was it the Dolphins? I forget. Texans, some shit like that. But so they trade him 2 years later. But they still figured out a way to win. They had enough talent. They got lucky with Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, becoming a serviceable quarterback. But they had Jimmy G. Jimmy G's problem is health. You know that. I mean, he's a good quarterback. Just can't stay healthy. Can't do it. And that wears on you, So, but they figured out a way to stay relevant, to keep winning. So if Aaron Glenn and team, if they could do that, it's like with Joe Douglas, with Zach Wilson. Like, we didn't it's tough. Like, we didn't like the offense. Like, Joe Douglas took more swings on the offensive line than any general manager that we've ever had. He's drafting most years. He's drafting 2 of them. He's trading up in the first. He used 3 first-round picks on offensive linemen while he was here in 5 drafts, right? He was here 6 years, but he had 5 drafts. So he's 3 first-round picks on offensive linemen, and in most of those drafts, he took 2. So like year 1, he took Becton and Cam Clark with a third, so he's taken a first and a third on offensive linemen. So he's taken those swings. He's using the fourths. He's using the fifths. He's free agents. He's trying. He's doing everything he can. But it's not working. Partially because our offensive line coaching wasn't very good. That's a big problem. Our offensive staff was dog shit. All going back to Greg Knapp. Greg Knapp was a tragedy, but for the New York Jets, it was another tragedy. It was like he was the linchpin of that offensive staff, and we never got it right after it. And even when they brought Matt Cavanaugh in, that was a great move. They brought Matt Cavanaugh in, and he kind of filled that Greg Knapp role, which allowed Mike LaFleur to go upstairs and, be the offensive coordinator from the booth, and Cavanaugh ran the field. You saw that whole Zach Wilson progression toward the end of the season when he started looking really good and we got excited. That was largely because of Matt Cavanaugh. Matt Cavanaugh was a good quarterback coach. He's been an offensive coordinator. And then remember what happened. Literally what came out from the Jets was they are separating from Matt. They won't be bringing him back because, quote, they want less voices in the room. So what does that mean? We want less voices in the room. You think having less voices in the room is an indicator that those voices agreed with each other? If everybody's in agreement, if everybody's on the same page, there's no problem with the amount of voices. We're lockstep, right? The problem was Matt Cavanaugh, who knows his shit, was here with a child like LaFleur, who was a very good play designer. Mike LaFleur was one of the better play designers that we had here in a long time. Problem was he was a man-child. He didn't know how to develop players. He didn't know how to, his interpersonal skills were dog shit. He didn't know how to use players properly. And so therefore, Zach Wilson needed development. And who did we have developing Zach Wilson? Anybody remember? I'm going to leave that up there for you guys. Who can remember? So we used our second overall pick on a quarterback. Greg Knapp was responsible for his development. Really. He passes away tragically. We bring in Cavanaugh to fill it. It's working. They get rid of Cavanaugh. Who's left to develop Zach Wilson, to develop him? Sir Avia nailed it. We gave our most precious commodity, a young, talented, strong arm, good elusive skills, hardworking, great work ethic, and very good looking, if I do say so myself. Charming little fella, 6'2", has everything you want in a quarterback. We get rid of Matt Cavanaugh because we want less voices in the room. The only other offensive voices in the room are Mike LaFleur and fucking Rob Calabrese, who had never done the job before. And not like our quarterback coach now, who basically was a running backs coach for more of his life, or more of his career, but has been a quarterback coach before. So it's I don't love that guy in the position. But he's a different level than Rob Calabrese. Rob Calabrese was a quality control coach. So he's never done it. We gave him the responsibility of developing our young, talented quarterback. Now, say what you want about Zach. Again, you guys know, I wasn't even a fan of him as a prospect, but you can't take away the talent that he had. He had elite escapability skills. He had it. Problem is, as it developed, he kept running backwards with it. Right? Remember that shit? Zach Wilson running 20 yards backwards. Oh my God. It was brutal. But he's got nobody coaching him. Rob Calabrese, Mike LaFleur's upstairs. He's fighting with Elijah Moore. Nobody likes him. His plays are great. He doesn't know how to manage the game because he's young. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's got no mentorship. He's just kind of running around. That's what we did. Zach was a mess, right? Zach was a mess. Stanley Mann says Zach had the yips. Couldn't throw it. Yeah, dude, the yips. And you know, Stanley, once they get it, you know, the other thing is like happy feet, right? They say once a quarterback gets happy feet, once they get the yips, it's hard to get it out of them. Sammy had the yips his last year here, which is why I was a huge proponent of Sam needing a year, pull him from the starting lineup and put him as a backup. Matt Rule didn't agree. Said, I'll give you a second, a fourth, and a sixth for Sam Darnold. I was at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg when that trade came through. I filmed the video right next to the Grover coaster. My kids were on the Grover coaster. I said, holy shit. And I turned on my phone and I recorded a video. But Sam needed a year. He didn't get it. He went down to Carolina. They built the team around him. He had Terrace Marshall and he had DJ Moore and he had McCaffrey. He had this Robbie Anderson. He had a crazy offense. For 3 games, he looked like $1 million. He settled back into the yippee fucking Sammy boy stuff. Once McCaffrey got hurt and the dump offs weren't quite as effective, Sammy struggled for 2 straight years down there. Goes to the Niners, sits with Shanahan, comes out of that, settles down, goes to Minnesota, and he's a 15-win quarterback. You know what I mean? So like with Zach, he needed that too. And that's what Peyton just gave him. I think Zach has a chance because he's with real offensive minds and they pulled him. Like we like to say, well, if he was great, why will we know? So, because the Zach truthers, right? They were saying, oh, he's going to be the blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and we would like to say, well, if he's so great, why is he a 3rd string quarterback? Well, that's probably by design. Peyton can see it. He's got the yips. He needs to settle down. You pull him, no threat, no even idea that he's going to have to start or run into this game. Not even active. He's sitting there. He's learning. He's calming down. He's settling down. And he's getting retrained by a real offensive quarterback guy. That's what's going on. So I don't know what'll happen. I mean, again, I wasn't the biggest Zach guy to begin with. But that's the way to do it. Man, went on a tangent today. Tangent. Stanley Mann also says Hackenberg was so bad he couldn't play a regular. Hackenberg was so bad that he went to the AFL. Remember that league, which was really good. But I can't believe that league, it made it like 3/4 of its first season and folded. I'm talking about mismanagement. That was exciting football. They had real good. Phil Savage was a GM over there. I mean, they had some real names, real coaches, real players. It was exciting. It was actually pretty damn good football. And I don't know why it didn't make it. But Hackenberg was so bad that he couldn't even make it there. He was supplanted by, I believe it was Adrian Martinez, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. Maybe not. But I think it might have been. Or maybe, no, Martinez beat out Corral. That's who it was. From Ole Miss. But Hackenberg, he started a couple games in the AFL, and he got benched because he sucks. Think about that, Stanley. Infrared, my buddy, what's up, dude? I'm in no way, shape, or form of Zach Wilson truther. I went to plenty of games with son Gizmo. He fucking sucked. Yeah. Chris DiNardo, what's up with you? Ken O'Brien had the opposite of the yips. Dude, that guy was tough as nails. You see, dude, if the quarterbacks of today, a lot of them would never make it. Like Mahomes is so protected. Like, I can't say for sure. I don't know. But like, even like in the Tom Brady era, like, as much I fucking hate Tom Brady, but dude, that guy would get crushed and just pop. Dan Marino too, remember? Because those guys like Dan Marino, Tom Brady, they don't have any moves. Ken O'Brien was the same way. They were pocket quarterbacks. They'd move a little, but they were, if they had to run, they were in trouble. They were all arm. You want to go outside? You want to go outside, puppies? Hold on, guys. Go ahead. You want to stay? You can stay. Ken O'Brien would stand in that pocket. He was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL numerous years. And remember, he would get up with those like buck teeth. Like, he would just look like, and he never gets hurt. He just gets back up. There he goes again. Crushed. That's what led to Al Toon. Partially, anyway. Ken O'Brien was consistently pressured, he would stay in that pocket, dude. He didn't give a shit. Like you said, he had the opposite of the yips. He just stood there. Boom. But he would throw those passes high. Al Toon would, stretch out over the middle. And that was in the era when nobody, would receive no defenseless receiver shit. And on top of that, and Al Toon was a big proponent of the he was part of the AstroTurf thing. Because literally what the field was, remember they would say that AstroTurf is significantly faster than grass. Well, why? Because it's literally a sheet of foam with that green grass layer over essentially concrete. They were playing street ball. So Al Toon would stretch out, make these great catches because Ken O'Brien's getting crushed. And then he would land, so he's getting killed and then lands on fucking concrete. That was a brutal day. Brutal days. What do we got here? We got somebody checking in. Sodak says, bringing in Stidham, huh? I mean, I don't know. I don't like Jarrett Stidham. I don't look. I think, Sodak, I think like there's a million of that tier, right? And you could draft a Kyle McCord or you can draft a Howell. You can draft, what's his name? Dart. Or you can bring in Stidham, or any of these guys. I don't think any of them are going to be the guy that has a chance to do anything for you long term or anything like to get you to where you really want to go. You can compete, but like we already have Tyrod Taylor. So Tyrod Taylor, he's older and he's like, he gets injured and shit, but it's like we already have that guy. So like, do you want to have a stable of Tyrod Taylor, Jared Stidham, and Jordan Travis? You know what I mean? Like, is that while Garrett Wilson is just wasting his career? Like, no real chance to win. Like I say, that's why I'm a fan of the Justin Fields thing. Look, I'm not a Justin Fields guy either, right? But when you're looking at like Justin Fields, high pedigree, worked with Garrett Wilson at a very high level before, and Ruckert, by the way. He's 25. He had a terrible situation in Chicago. Goes over to the Steelers, better situation, not the greatest offensive thing. But, Arthur Smith, he's not I don't like him as a head coach, but he's not hot garbage. He's not Hackett, right? So he goes over there. He plays 6 games for them. They win 4 on the back of the defense, but he played efficient football. We went through it last week. Remember? We went through his stats. Nothing groundbreaking, but efficient. High completion percentage. Played efficient football. Had 3 touchdowns with his legs, 8 or 9 touchdowns in the air. Efficient, enough to win. So slowly but surely getting a little bit better. He's the kind of guy where there's a chance that maybe he's ready to pop. Maybe he learned enough. Maybe he settled down. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like he's in the NFL for 5 years now. So it's like, okay, you learn a lot. You get humbled by life and you realize like, hey man, if I'm going to have a career, I might have to do some things there. I'm not just going to run around here like I did in college. Soon as there's pressure, fucking take off. I take off, I'm getting killed. It's not the same. And it takes a while sometimes for these kids with these egos to settle down. So who knows? So I'd rather take a shot on Justin Fields than bringing in Jarrett Stidham to compete or the like. You know what I mean? That's my thought. Dante checking in says, if JT didn't get injured, JT, and played another year, do you think he would have been a better prospect than Ward or Sanders? If he had the same year, of course. JT. Jordan Travis. Thank you, Dante. Sorry, buddy. I don't know if he'd be a better prospect than those guys. Probably not. His throwing motion is wonky. I think he'd be a better prospect than like Jackson Dart. Those guys. He'd probably be on the Milrow, in that, Milrow Dart kind of tier. Something like that, I'd say. Not Ward or Sanders. I think look, I like Shedeur Sanders. I don't like the whole thing bringing him here. He's never been coached by anybody but his father. And his father happens to be fucking prime time. He's the again, as soon as there's any adversity or anything and they feel like they're not getting, it's not the right thing exactly the way I like it, then there's going to be noise. I don't want it. Now, if he's there at 7 and the Jets take him, it's going to be exciting. He's not going to be there, but if he was, I'm definitely working the phone lines though. I'll tell you that. But I don't know. Ron Weiss checking in. There you go, buddy. Great comment earlier about my flannel. The whole stadium would yell, "Throw the effing ball." O'Brien was frustrating. I know. Yeah, that's the thing. That's so true. No, I was young when Kenny O was around. He was there into my teens, right? Kenny O played for us. Right. Remember what we did to Kenny O'Brien too? We gave him Boomer Esiason. We gave Boomer Esiason his number 7 jersey while he was still on the team. We just signed him and gave him number 7. It's kind of douchey. And he was our quarterback for a long time. So he played for the Jets from 1983 to 1992. So 92, I was 19 years old. So he was so again, my first year being a Jets fan was that 81-82 year. So I remember watching games. I wasn't a every game guy yet. And then when I decided to be a Jets fan, I got really excited. Those playoff year, that playoff year, we played the Raiders. My father's a Giants/Raiders fan because the Raiders are mean. And we beat them. We weren't supposed to beat them, and we beat them, and we get to the championship game, and I got swept up in that, and then I made my decision to be a Jets fan that year. So right after that 82 season, the Jets drafted Kenny O with the first-round pick in the famous 83 quarterback class with Elway and Marino and everybody. And he was my quarterback through all my coming-of-age Jets fan years. So Kenny O was it. And then we got Browning Nagel. Oh, my gosh. Instead of Brett Favre, geesh. The Freeman McNeil years. Right, David. Freeman was my favorite. Gastineau and Klecko were my favorite players. But Freeman McNeil was by far my favorite offensive player. Loved Wesley Walker, loved Al Toon, but I was a Freeman guy. Freeman McNeil was my dude. I love that motherfucker. And then Mickey Schuler. So Kenny O had 128 touchdowns to 98 interceptions. Total of 25,094 yards, an average completion percentage of 58.6. And he was our starter for about 8 years. 7-8 years. And then, he did some spot, with some Pat Ryan, who was our longtime backup. And then, he was still here. Like when Browning Nagel, he'd come in and play some games. Fucking Kenny O. I love it. Guys, it's late. I can't believe it's still this late. I want to remind you of the great offer. Who's being a dick, Big Green? Frankie from Flatbush? Me? I love Frankie. Frankie did the whole season with me. The live streams, buddy. Is that what you mean? Anyway, I love you, Big Green. Guys, I want to remind you about the great offer from BetUS. 150% bonus on your first deposit. Up to $2,000, everybody. This is the last week of this offer. This is it. 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. All you have to do is use that promo code YouTube150. And that gets it done. America's favorite sports book, and for good reason. Thank you to BetUS for an amazing season. And I hope you guys take advantage of that amazing offer from the great BetUS. With that all said, I never saw, of course I did. Boomer Esiason? Yeah, Ron. Well, I've told you. What do you mean? I was Kenny. Boomer was after Kenny O. Right? Is that what you mean? Of course I saw Boomer. I remember, dude, I was reading the Daily News and the New York Post when they signed him in free. That was the first year of free agency when we got Boomer Esiason in 1992. I was a diehard fan by that point. Diehard. I read every article there was. We had no internet, man. Remember the papers, Ron? You remember, buddy. Anyway, with that all said, please hit that like button. Squeeze and milk on. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Actually, I won't. I got to tell them, shit, I got my daughter's play. So the T-Go show will be on tomorrow night, Talking Jets at 8 p.m. But I'll be back with Dom and Gunny, and we're having the great Antoine Staley on the Thursday Thick of It this week, everybody. So that'll be fun. We'll have Antoine Staley on, and we'll talk a little bit of Combine and Jets and draft and everything with him. That's 8 p.m. right here with Dom C., Gunny Gumby, myself, GreenBean, and Antoine Staley. Guys, have a great rest of your evening. As always, I sincerely appreciate your time. I enjoy this so much. I could do it all night if I didn't have to wake up and go to work. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.
I think he's going to be day one, a violent vertical edge setter.